Are you aware that in 2026, the average person can effectively pay over 16,000% interest on something as simple as a $24 lunch? Not because the food was expensive, not because they bought something luxurious, but because they swiped their card while their account balance was sitting at $3.18. The bank covered the transaction and then quietly charged them a $35 overdraft fee. That $35 fee on a $24 purchase, that's over 16,000% interest. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You're not stuck in the middle class because of your coffee habit. You're stuck there because modern financial systems are designed to extract money from people who are always just slightly broke. And if nobody ever showed you how the system actually works, then you were never supposed to win. Quick question before we continue. Comment reset below if you're ready to completely rethink how money works, because by the end of this video, you may never look at budgeting the same way again. Welcome to the 2026 economy. An economy that feels strange, confusing, almost contradictory, because on one screen, everything looks amazing. The stock market keeps breaking records, corporate profits are rising, financial headlines say everything is strong. But on the other screen, millions of people feel like they're running faster just to stay in the same place. According to recent data, nearly 2/3 of people are living paycheck to paycheck, not just minimum wage workers. We're talking about engineers, lawyers, nurses, six-figure earners, people who should be comfortable but somehow still feel financially trapped. And the reason is simple. Since 2020, prices in many sectors have increased roughly 25%, but wages, for most people, they've only grown around 10%, which means every year, your paycheck quietly buys less of your life. And that's why traditional budgeting advice feels broken, because most budgeting advice tells you to focus on tiny expenses. Skip the latte, cut the snacks, cancel the gym. But here's the reality. You cannot save your way to wealth by cutting pennies while ignoring the massive financial leaks in your life. That would be like trying to stop a sinking boat by wiping water off the floor while ignoring the giant hole in the hole. Let's pause for a second. If you've ever tried budgeting and still felt like money disappears every month, type leaks in the comments, because in a moment I'm going to show you the 3 leaks that actually keep people broke. Here's the first mindset shift of the 2026 Wealth Reset. Most people confuse being cheap with being financially smart, but those are not the same thing. Let me show you something fascinating. You'll see someone stand in a grocery store aisle staring at 2 cereal boxes. One costs $4.99, the other costs $5.79, and they'll spend 5 full minutes deciding which one to buy to save 80 cents. But then they'll walk outside, get into an $87,000 pickup truck with a $1,700 monthly payment, and they never question that decision. That's what I call the cheap trap. Cheap thinking focuses on how much does this cost right now, but wealthy thinking asks a different question. What is the return on this decision over time? Another hidden problem is something called decision fatigue. Your brain only has a limited amount of mental energy each day. If you waste that energy stressing over paper towels, cereal brands, and $3 purchases, you won't have the mental clarity left for decisions that could change your life. Decisions like negotiating your salary, starting a side business, investing your money. So here's rule number 1 of the 2026 budget system. If something costs under $20 and you already have savings, buy the one you want. Move on. Protect your brain power for decisions that are worth thousands, not cents. If this mindset shift already makes sense to you, hit the like button so more people can discover this video, because the algorithm pushes videos that people engage with, and financial literacy is something millions of people still need.
Now we need to talk about something most banks will never tell you. Your bank has tiers of customers, but they don't advertise them, because if they did, people would realize something uncomfortable. If your net worth is under $30,000, you are likely placed in what insiders call the struggle tier. This is the group banks make the most money from. Overdraft fees, late fees, credit card interest, penalty charges. In fact, banks collect billions every year from these fees, and most of it comes from a surprisingly small group of customers. Because when someone lives close to zero, every unexpected expense triggers another fee, and another,
and another. But here's the twist most people never hear about. There's a number that makes you almost useless to the banking profit model. That number is $20,000 in savings. Why? Because once someone has that buffer, a few powerful things happen. They stop overdrafting, they stop needing payday loans, they stop carrying credit card balances. They become what the credit industry calls a deadbeat. And interestingly, that's actually a compliment. A deadbeat is someone who uses the system but never pays interest, which means the banks stop making money from you. Now, I want you to think about something. How close are you to your 20K shield? Comment, starting if you're under 5K, building if you're between 5K to 15K, almost there if you're approaching 20K. Let's see where everyone watching this video is on the journey. Now we arrive at the biggest financial trap of modern life, the thing that destroys more budgets than anything else, cars. But not just cars, luxury trucks and oversized vehicles people don't actually need. Some call it the pavement princess phenomenon, vehicles designed for heavy construction work, used mostly to commute to office jobs. Let's break down the numbers. A $90,000 truck financed over 7 years can easily cost $1,200 in payments, $300 insurance, $250 fuel, maintenance and tires. Suddenly that vehicle costs $1,700 every single month. That's over $20,000 a year. Now imagine investing even half of that instead. Over 7 years, that could grow to roughly $95,000 or more. That's not a small difference. That's a wealth trajectory difference. And the same myth exists with housing. You've probably heard people say, renting is throwing money away. But that statement ignores something important. When you buy a home with a mortgage, in the early years, most of your payment goes to interest, taxes, insurance, maintenance, which means in many cases, only a small portion of your payment actually builds equity, sometimes only a few $100s. The rest is just the cost of access. So the smarter question is not, should I rent or buy? The smarter question is, which option allows me to invest more money into assets that grow? If this breakdown changed how you see cars or housing, share this video with a friend who's about to buy an expensive vehicle. You might literally save them tens of thousands of dollars.
Now we reach the final stage of the 2026 wealth reset. The moment when your money begins to work harder than you do. This moment is called the crossover point. Most people never think about wealth this way. They think wealth means winning the lottery, selling a company, or earning a huge salary. But wealth is actually about momentum, and momentum comes from compound growth. Here's the formula. Take your annual savings and divide it by 0.07. Because historically, long-term investments often average around 7% annual growth. If you save $6,000 per year, your crossover number becomes roughly $86,000. Why? Because once your investments reach that amount, they begin generating $6,000 per year on their own, the same amount you contribute, which means your money is now working as hard as you are. And after that point, compound growth starts accelerating. This is why the first $100,000 feels painfully slow, but the next $100,000 often happens much faster, because now you have a powerful partner working for you, time. Now it's your turn. Grab a calculator, do the math, annual savings divided by 0.07, then comment your crossover number below. I genuinely want to see where everyone lands. Wealth in 2026 is not about looking rich. It's about optionality. It's about having the financial cushion that lets you leave a toxic job, take a career risk, start a business, help your family, and sleep peacefully at night. Because when you have financial breathing room, no system has leverage over you anymore. If this video helped you see money differently, subscribe to the channel. Every week we break down the hidden systems behind wealth, psychology, and money that schools never teach. And trust me, some of the upcoming videos will completely change how you think about income, investing, and financial freedom. And remember this, the system may be designed to extract from you, but math is your armor. Stop being the product, start becoming the investor. And I'll see you in the next video.